Look closely at this man. 5 Ballon d'Or awards, 5 Champions League titles, more than 800 goals in his career. Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro, a name that makes entire stadiums tremble. But have you ever stopped to think about the price he paid for all of this? I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about blood, sweat, tears, and sacrifices that most people can't even imagine. While you were sleeping, he was in the gym. While you were partying with your friends, he was training alone in the rain. This man transformed pain into fuel and suffering into greatness. But the real story begins long before the stadium lights, long before the fame, long before everything you know today. It begins on a small island called Madeira, where a skinny little boy with patched clothes and worn-out shoes looked up at the sky and dreamed of something bigger. His mother worked as a housekeeper. His father struggled with alcohol. The family lived cramped in a small house where everyone barely fit. But that kid had something no one could take away from him. He had fire in his heart and hunger to win. At 12 years old, he left the island, left his family, left everything he knew to go train in Lisbon, alone. Imagine that, 12 years old, far from home, far from his mother, sleeping in a shared room with other boys who mocked his accent, his clothes, his poverty. He cried every night on the phone with his mother, but in the morning, he woke up and trained as if his life depended on it, because it really did. In those first months in Lisbon, Cristiano woke up at 5 in the morning with a heavy heart and eyes still swollen from crying so much. The cold room at Sporting's academy felt like a prison for a kid who was used to the warmth of Madeira and his family's embrace. The other boys laughed at him when he spoke. His Madeiran accent sounded strange to Lisbon ears. They called him names. They said he would never make it, that he was just another poor kid from the island who came to try his luck and would go back home with his tail between his legs. But Cristiano kept everything inside his chest. Every insult, every mockery, every look of contempt. And he transformed all of that into rage, a good rage, a rage that made him run faster, train harder, give more of himself when everyone else had already given up. He had no choice. Going back to Madeira meant going back to poverty. It meant watching his mother work until she collapsed from exhaustion. It meant watching his father sink deeper and deeper into drinking. It meant accepting that dreams were just that, dreams. And Cristiano wasn't willing to accept that. So he trained. He trained until his legs hurt, until his feet bled inside the old cleats he wore, until the coaches told him to stop because it was too late and he needed to rest. But he didn't rest. When everyone was sleeping, he was in the hallway doing push-ups, doing sit-ups, practicing ball control against the bedroom wall until the neighbors banged on the door shouting that enough was enough. The academy food was different from home food. He missed his mother's bolo do caco. He missed the fresh fish they ate on Sundays. He missed everything. But he swallowed the food without complaining because he knew that every meal was fuel. Every bite was energy for the next day's training. Every glass of water was a promise to himself that he wouldn't give up. On Friday nights, he heard the other boys making plans to go out. They went to the movies. They went for snacks. They went walking around the city. Cristiano stayed in his room, alone, staring at the ceiling, thinking about his mother, imagining the day when he would return to Madeira not as a failure, but as a winner, as someone who proved everyone wrong. On weekends, when there was time off, he called home. His mother asked him if everything was okay, if he was eating properly, if the other boys were nice to him. And he lied. He said yes. He said everything was great, that he was making friends, that he was happy. Because he didn't want his mother to worry. He didn't want her to know that her son cried every night missing home, that he was afraid of failing, that sometimes he woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat with nightmares where he returned to Madeira empty-handed and everyone laughed at him. But in the morning, when the sun rose, Cristiano got up. He washed his face with cold water. He looked at himself in the mirror, and he told himself that today was going to be better than yesterday. That today he would train more, run more, give more of himself because he knew something the others didn't know. He knew that talent wasn't enough. There were many kids with talent, but how many were willing to sacrifice everything? How many were willing to wake up when others were sleeping, to train when others were resting, to suffer in silence while others were having fun? Cristiano was, and that made all the difference. The months passed, and that skinny kid started gaining muscle. He started getting faster, stronger, more technical. The coaches started noticing. His teammates started respecting him, and those who mocked him at the beginning now stayed silent when he entered the field because they knew they were witnessing something special, something rare, something that only appears once in a generation. But the price continued to be paid every single day.
But he never stopped. And here's the part nobody tells you when they talk about success. Here's the raw truth that stays hidden behind the beautiful photos of trophies and celebrations. Cristiano Ronaldo paid a price that most people can't even imagine. We're not just talking about physical training. We're talking about real loneliness. That loneliness that squeezes your chest at 3 in the morning when you're in a hotel room in yet another different city, and there's nobody who truly understands the weight you carry. We're talking about sacrificing your birthday to train because there's an important game at the weekend. We're talking about watching your childhood friends follow normal paths, getting married, having kids, 9-to-5 jobs, while you live in a bubble of constant pressure where every mistake you make is amplified by millions of people. We're talking about waking up with pains that never completely go away, knees that hurt, ankles that swell, muscles that scream for rest, but you can't stop because there's always someone trying to take your place. There's always someone younger, faster, hungrier, waiting for you to fail so they can overtake you. And Cristiano knew that better than anyone. That's why when his teammates went out to dinner, he stayed back doing core exercises. When other players took extended vacations, he hired personal trainers to keep his body in competition shape. When Christmas came and everyone relaxed and ate and drank, he maintained his strict diet because he knew that in January, the games would be back and he had to be better than he was in December. That's not normal. That's not healthy by normal standards. That's pure obsession. But it's that obsession that separates the good from the legendary. It's that obsession that makes it so at 39 years old, he's still competing with 20-year-old kids, still scoring goals, still breaking records, still relevant when everyone from his generation is already retired or playing in smaller leagues just for the paycheck. Cristiano could have stopped years ago. He could have gone to China or the United States to earn millions without pressure. He could have relaxed and enjoyed the fortune he built. But no, because for him, it was never just about money. It was about proving. It was about winning. It was about writing his name in history in a way that nobody could ever erase. And that hunger is rare. That hunger is dangerous. That hunger consumes everything around it. It consumes time. It consumes energy. It consumes relationships. How many times do you think he had to cancel plans? How many times do you think he disappointed people close to him because he had to train? How many times do you think he just wanted to be normal but couldn't because he had millions of people expecting him to be extraordinary? And still, he continued. When he lost his father and the pain was unbearable, he continued. When the English newspapers called him a clown because he did too many tricks, he continued. When they said he would never be as good as Messi, he continued. When he lost important finals and cried on the field, he continued. When injuries started appearing more frequently, he continued. When age started being used against him in every newspaper article, he continued. Because true champions don't stop when it's difficult. They stop when it's over. And for Cristiano, it's not over yet. He still wakes up every day with that hunger. He still looks in the mirror and sees the poor kid from Madeira who promised himself he would conquer the world. He still feels the pressure to prove he deserves to be there. And that, my friend, is the secret. Never being satisfied. Never feeling like you've already arrived. Never relaxing completely, because the moment you relax, someone overtakes you. The moment you feel comfortable, you lose the edge. The moment you stop being hungry, you start dying slowly. Cristiano understood that early. He understood that greatness isn't a destination, it's a path. It's not something you reach once and that's it. It's something you have to conquer every day. Every training session, every game, every decision, every meal you eat is a decision between greatness and mediocrity. Every hour of sleep is a decision between recovering well or waking up tired. Every extra training session is a decision between being good or being unforgettable. And he chose to be unforgettable. He chose to pay the price that few are willing to pay. He chose to sacrifice what few are willing to sacrifice. He chose to live in a way that most people would call extreme, but for him was the only possible way. Because mediocrity was never an option. Being normal was never an option. Being just another one was never an option. Either legend or nothing. And when you live with that mentality, everything changes. The excuses disappear, the laziness disappears, the fear disappears. It's just you and your goal. You and your vision. You and the price you have to pay. And Cristiano paid that price without blinking. He paid with blood, sweat, and tears, as they say, but he also paid with things you can't see. He paid with sleepless nights thinking about how to improve. He paid with relationships that didn't survive the intensity of his ambition. He paid with moments lost with family because he was in another country playing another game. He paid with the constant pressure of carrying the hopes of millions of people on his shoulders. He paid with unfair criticism, with gratuitous hatred, with people who wanted to see him fail. And still, he continued. Still, he got up every morning and went to battle. Still, he stepped on the pitch and gave everything. Still, he proved time after time that he wasn't going to give up, that he wasn't going to slow down, that he wasn't going to accept anything less than absolute greatness.
Cristiano Ronaldo paid the price of glory with every drop of sweat, every hidden tear, every silent sacrifice that nobody saw. And that's why he's not just a football player. He's a symbol that when you want something with all the force of your soul, when you're willing to pay the price that few pay, you can achieve what few achieve. The question now is for you. Are you willing to pay the price for your dreams? Because the truth is this, and nobody's going to tell you this the way you need to hear it. Everyone wants the results, but nobody wants the process. Everyone wants the stage, but nobody wants the rehearsals in the dark. Everyone wants the medal, but nobody wants the training at 5 in the morning when your body begs for 5 more minutes of sleep and your mind whispers that you can rest just one more day. Cristiano wasn't born with an elite athlete's physique. He built that body, repetition after repetition, year after year. While other players went out to parties, he stayed in the gym. While others ate whatever they wanted, he measured every gram of protein, every carbohydrate, every glass of water. While others relaxed on vacation, he hired personal trainers to stay in shape. That's not talent, that's obsession, that's hunger. That's someone who decided he wasn't going to leave anything to chance, that he wasn't going to make excuses, that he wasn't going to allow mediocrity to enter through the door of his life, not even disguised as well-deserved rest. And you know what happens when you live like this? People start to hate you. They start looking for flaws. They start saying you're arrogant, that you're selfish, that you only think about yourself. And maybe they're partly right. Maybe to reach the top, you really do have to be selfish with your time, with your energy, with your focus. Maybe you have to disappoint some people, miss some parties, say no to some outings, because you can't serve two masters. You can't want glory and comfort. You can't want the podium and the couch. You have to choose. And Cristiano chose a long time ago. He chose when he was a kid and the boys made fun of his Mandarin accent in Lisbon. He chose when he arrived in Manchester and barely spoke English, but the ball at his feet spoke every language. He chose when he lost his father, and instead of drowning in pain, he used that pain as fuel. He chose when he lost finals, and instead of hiding, he came back stronger, more determined, more dangerous. Every defeat was a lesson. Every criticism was a challenge. Every doubt was an opportunity to prove otherwise. And while the world judged him, he worked. While the world talked, he sweated. While the world doubted, he believed. Because there's a truth that the weak will never understand. The process is lonely. The climb is cold. The path is dark. You're going to be alone many times. You're going to question yourself many times. You're going to want to give up many times. But it's precisely there that champions are separated from the almost, those who make history from those who fall by the wayside, those who pay the price from those who only want the prize. Cristiano paid that price without negotiating. He paid when he was 17 and trained alone after practice. He paid when he was in his 20s and the English newspapers destroyed him every week. He paid when he was in his 30s and many said he was finished. He paid when he reached 40 and continued scoring goals as if he were 20. That's not luck. It's not genetics. It's not chance. It's brutal, relentless, obsessive work, repeated day after day after day, when nobody's watching, when nobody applauds, when nobody acknowledges. And then, when you reach the top, when you win everything, when you have everything, then yes, everyone shows up saying they were sure you were special, that they always believed in you, that they always knew. But you know the truth. You know who was there on the cold nights. You know who believed when there was no reason to believe. You know the real price because you were the one who paid it. And now the question comes back to you, and this time you can't run from it. Look at your life. Look at your dreams. Look at what you say you want, and ask yourself with brutal honesty, are you paying the price? Are you doing the work? Are you sacrificing what you need to sacrifice? Or are you just waiting for it to happen, waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, the big break? Because the truth is, the right moment never comes. The perfect opportunity never appears. The big break never knocks on the door. What happens is that there are people who create their own moments, who build their own opportunities, who force their own luck through consistent, disciplined, unstoppable work. Cristiano Ronaldo didn't wait for someone to give him anything. He went and got it. He conquered it. He ripped from the teeth of the world what he wanted. And he did that not because he was the most talented. There were always players with more natural talent. He did it because he was the one who worked the hardest, who wanted it most, who sacrificed most, who believed most. And that's the difference between dreaming and conquering, between wanting and having, between talking and doing.